on my way. Okay, uh, I'll start again. I'm Stephen, and I'm really happy to be here to tell this little story about something that happened to me when I was a young man. It helped me find my way. After high school, well, family didn't have that much money, so I had to work. You know, it was either work or stay at home, and I didn't really want to stay at home all day. So I got into school at night for an associate degree at City College, New York, at the Bernard Baruch School of Business Administration. My family liked that. They thought going into business would be good in some way. All right. Well, I was outgoing, friendly, always made friends and had some good times. So I thought, well, that would be okay for me. And I got myself a job at the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company. And I was going to school at night. And that was with those old-fashioned cards, IBM cards that you stack up and stuff, some of you may remember. And I used those cards and stacked them up, and I did some paperwork and typing, and the year went by pretty quickly. I had some pretty good times, but it wasn't really what I wanted to do. It was too conforming. One day I wore a shirt like this to work. The supervisor pulled me over and said, "We don't wear shirts like that here. You know, you wear a tie." I didn't like that, but I said, okay. Well, come the summer, I found myself, my Aunt Elsie, dear Aunt Elsie. She said, "Stephen, we could have a job for you here at my office, Island Spun. We import handbags and sweaters. My boss, Murray Cohen's a really nice guy, and you'll learn all about sales and business. It'll be really good for you." My mom said, "Yeah, sounds pretty good." Oh, okay. See, my mom was the bookkeeper, and she really wanted me to be an accountant or something like that in her field. And I thought, okay, I go into Island Spun. This is in the garment center of New York City. And it's lots of buildings, lots of business, and everybody is serious about business. Well, okay, I could be serious too. And learning all this stuff. We had Mr. Stillman come into the office sometimes. Mr. Stillman, he was the accountant. And wow, I watched him add up a cold column of numbers that was about a foot long, and he did it in less than a second. Whoa, even two-digit numbers, like 25 and 37 and 46 and 36 and 49 and more, all adding up together. I was impressed. Would I be able to do that someday? Is that what it means to be an accountant? Well, there I was, mostly in the beginning, doing billing, typing, and more typing. I learned that pretty well on one of those old-fashioned typewriters. And then getting into sales. My boss, Murray Cohn, was a very sweet guy. He said, "It's going to be fun." And the first day, I remember going out, I was carrying about 8 different kinds of sweaters, about 4 different kinds of what they call fur blend. It was popular at that time. It was a blend of different kinds of mohair and other threads. It went okay. And I had mohair sweaters, and I'd be walking down the street and going down to 34th Street, up the street to 7th Avenue at 225 7th Avenue. And lo and behold, I'm just one of a crew of men, young men, older men, old men, gray-haired men, carrying these suitcases and walking into buildings, up to the offices, waiting room. Well, I have an appointment with Mrs. Blackman. Oh, okay. Bum. I go in and see Mrs. Blackman, and she says, "Hello, Stephen," because we had already met once before. And of course, I was always a charming young guy. And I'd say, "Hey, I'm here, and I've got some lovely sweaters to show you." But really what was going on, I was getting along really well with Miss Blackman and Miss Churchill and all the various other women buyers. Most of them were women, and they were into the style. And they would say, "Oh, nice sweaters, and what's going on for you?" And I tell them a little bit about my life and what's happening in school at night. And they were very happy for me, and we had a lovely rapport. And oh yes, my sweaters. Let me show you some of my sweaters. And well, the sales went okay. They were going all right. Not great. I made some sales, but it wasn't what you'd call a crack salesman. Not yet, but I'd get at it. I took a class at Bernard Baruch School of Business Administration in salesmanship. And boy, was I impressed with the teacher. He was up there and he could really rattle out a whole big speech about things. And the first big lecture he gave was, to be a salesman, to be a really good salesman, oh, what you gotta do. The first thing, sales isn't just one of your jobs to do, that you go to work and you do your job and you're a salesman. No, you're selling from your heart. And sales is the important, not just important, but the most important thing in your life. I thought to myself, could I make selling something, selling a mohair sweater, the most important thing in my life? I don't know if that's what it means to be a successful person in the sales business, in the garment center. Ooh, I walked away from that lecture. Okay, I'll give it what I can. I'll try. And I did. And things kind of improved a little bit. So I wanted to think. And I tried. Yep, things were happening. Go back, do billing in the afternoon, next day out doing sales in the morning, and trying this and trying that. Oh my God, it went well. I was a salesman. Yes, it was all right. But what happened? I was realizing something from that lecture. It was really important. Can I sell from my heart? Can I do that from here? All right, something was missing, I thought, but I'll try to figure it out. Well, I tried, and I did it. But something was wrong. In my heart of hearts, my heart went with the people. I love buyers and stuff, and those people were very nice, and we got along great. But could I put that mohair sweater in here and say, you gotta buy this? I don't know. I don't know. I could speak to people from my heart. People were where I was really at. So I was confused. The time went on, the months went by, different seasons, and I'd see the men selling things, and I'd be walking with people down 42nd Street. It would be just like this. We'd be carrying our suitcases. We're hauling a bag here, here, here. Yes, it was something else, I'll tell you. But finally, one day, after a year and maybe 10 months of doing this, I'm walking up 34th Street, past 6th Avenue, getting close to 7th Avenue. I see in the distance a man, oh, maybe 100 yards away, and he's looking a little tired, older guy, gray hair, you know, old. I was thinking, I was 21. So I was thinking, wow, he's an old man. And the street was really steaming hot outside. And we're walking, and I'm getting a little closer to him. And he's getting closer to me, and I'm thinking, this is strange. Why is he looking at me? Why am I looking at him? There was a lot of people around thinking, well, they're salesmen. They're going to their offices. I had some appointments lined up. All is looking okay. I'm still kind of confused. Is this really what I want to be doing? I don't know. Well, oh yeah. He's getting closer to me and I'm getting closer to him. And he's passing me. And I don't say anything to him. It's a little scary. But he looks up at me as he's passing right along my side and said, right into this ear. Kid, get out while you're young. Oh. And I did. That's what happened. Ultimately, my career became special education. That was something I could put my heart into. Thank you. Thank you.
Great.
Okay.
That's nice.
Any feedback?
Didn't realize we're supposed to mute our video too.
Oh, Scrumbly's on it too.
Oh yeah.
Uh-oh.
We're overhearing. Mhm.
I'm muting myself, sorry. So thank you, Stephen, for keeping your heart open and not wrapping it up in mohair.
Oh, some here.
Lots of kids probably really appreciate, especially in special ed, someone with a big heart. Thank you for what you do.
Oh, true.
So we are now going to go, without further ado, to Claire. I'm going to mute everybody, and then Claire will unmute herself and start her story.
Where is it?
You're good to go, Claire.
Thank you. I was only 3. And I'd put these funny slippers on my feet. They were paper. And I could feel the cold floor as we walked down the corridor. And I thought they were too big for me and my feet would come out of them and then maybe I'd be in trouble. I was supposed to keep them on. I didn't know why. My hand was being held by this tall man. And we walked down the hall and I'm going slippity with these slippers. And we go in a door. And before you know it, they had me on this table. And this woman comes over and she had this thing and she put it over my nose and mouth. Horrible, stop. I can't breathe. What's going on? Smells funny too. I don't know. Well, they held down my arms and legs and they did it again. And this time, I don't know what happened. All I know is I woke up and it was nighttime and I was in a crib in a hospital. I had bars on it and I was a little old for that. I mean, I was only 3, but didn't need to be in a crib. And this kind of nasty nurse comes by and she says, now, if you throw up, this is what you have to throw up in. And he shows me this kind of kidney-shaped bowl, which looked awfully small to me. I mean, I was only 3. And I thought, why would I do that? And all of a sudden, all this blood came out of my throat and it went all over the sheets. And she was so angry at me. I told you you're a bad girl. You shouldn't have done that. I told you what to do. But I was only 3. And this was pretty difficult. Later on, they came and they brought me Jell-O, and my throat hurt so bad. Oh. And I finally fell asleep. When I woke up in the morning, I looked through the bars at the end of my crib, and there was this golden man in a white coat. He had this thing around his neck with a circular thing. I didn't know. but I thought he was an angel because he smiled at me and played games with me through the bars. He had blonde hair and blue eyes. I'll never forget him. I think he's what they call an intern now, but I fell in love with him. He was definitely my first love. He was so beautiful. Well, I began to get better and they sent me home. And this was just the beginning of strange goings on because he took my temperature every single day and it would go up in the afternoon. And the doctor said that was not good. I might have something like rheumatic fever. It might be bad. I had to be kept in bed. I mustn't be allowed to be out of bed. So my mother undertook the thing of keeping a 3-year-old in bed. And we played games and we did puzzles. And I had dolls and things to play with on my sheets. And I remember she had this old Victrola, you know, the kind with the dog on the top, and she'd wind it up and it would play songs like The Umbrella Man or The Graceful Young Man on the Flying Trapeze. He rode through the air with the greatest of ease, that daring young man on the flying trapeze. And I pictured my angel, my love, doing that. It was just wonderful. This went on for a long time. My older brother would come in and talk to me for a while. People came to visit me, but I don't remember getting out of that bed at all. I must have gotten out of bed to go to the bathroom or something, but they fed me my meals there. This went on a long time, and I was used to it. When one day my mother just couldn't stand it anymore, she couldn't figure out what was the problem, and so her friends told her, get another doctor. So one day in walks this Germanic man, big man, Dr. Bloch, who had come from Germany to escape the Nazis. And he took one look at me and he tested my heart and everything. He says, what is going on with this child? Get that child out of bed immediately. There's nothing wrong with her. So I was free. Later on, that wonderful doctor became my pediatrician. His wife became my gynecologist and his daughter became my pal at Lowell High School. It was a long relationship for which I was very grateful. But it was a very strange thing because, you know, to this day, when I'm anxious or worried or troubled, I go to bed. That's where I can think. Maybe a lot of other people do that too, but me, it seems like a weakness. And then one day I was talking to a psychiatrist and he said to me, what do you think your mother had to do to keep you in bed for 6 months? A 3-year-old child who was nothing wrong with? And I suddenly realized I probably was scared that I was going to die if I got out of bed. So I used that place as a place to deal with my anxieties. It's imprinted on me. I can't get over it. It's just silly, but that's the way it is. And so that's what it was like in 1936 when I had my tonsils out.
Thank you, Claire. That was wonderful. Yes. Tonsils. A pretty universal story of having to get your tonsils taken out.
In a hospital?
Yeah.
Horace,
Not anymore.
yeah, there's a really interesting program on Netflix that's, I forget what, it's called Ouch. And geared to kids and, you know, the science of the body and everything. And one segment is on tonsils and it's pretty hilarious. Yeah. So thank you.
I think the thing that was, when I look back on, I think today when the kids, first of all, they get their tonsils out in the doctor's office. Secondly, when they go to the hospital or anything, they usually have talks with the child and tell them what's going to happen. They don't just send them in. They don't know what's going to happen. It was very strange. And when I look back on it, I think, fortunately, that's not the way they treat kids anymore.
No.
Oh,
It was wonderful, Claire. It was a delightful story.
Thank you, Jerry.
Claire, did you get any ice cream after you got your tonsils out? That was
Yes, I
always
did. I got ice cream and Jello. I certainly did. Thank you.
Jello.
oh yes, Jello.
Right.
Jello, Jello, Jello.
we used to get ice
It's a great story, Claire. It brought back memories.
Yes, I imagine it did. That's the way it was then.
That suffocating ether feeling is Right there again. Thank you for that.
All
Thank
right.
I'm with Ben. It was ice cream, ice cream, ice cream after, which
Oh,
for a
yeah.
little kid was really fun.
Yeah,
That's right.
good part.
All right.
Holy Toledo.
Oh, hello.
Is that Samir?
I think
Yeah,
that's
that's
Samir!
Just in time, Shamir.
yeah.
Yay, Samir. It's
Hey,
great to
Hi.
see you.
Hi, Smear.
So, without further ado, we are going to go to our third and final teller, Ben, with the traffic boy. And once again, I'm going to mute everyone, and then Ben will unmute himself.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, you could.
I'm unmuted. Great.
Oh, Ben, you're still muted.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. One of the proudest moments of my childhood was when I was in junior high school. In the 5th grade, I became a traffic boy. You call it a crossing guard now, and that job is done mostly by adults. But I had a chance to be part of the traffic squad. And I grew up in a neighborhood in San Francisco called Dog Patch. It was a gritty, working class neighborhood on 3rd and 22nd Street. Now it's totally gentrified. And it was predominantly a Black community. And my school was Irvin M. Scott. And we were at least 75, 80% Black students, a smattering of white and Mexican kids. And we lived in an area that was very, very busy. You had a lot of trucks coming through. You had a lot of vehicle traffic. And several kids at the school, they were hit by cars. And so to be a traffic guard was a very important job. And in the 6th grade, I was promoted to be the captain of the crossing guard, which was highly prestigious because the principal at our school, Mrs. Owens, gave me the additional responsibility of raising and lowering the flag before and after school. So I had a big, big responsibility. And I became the principal's pet. She really, really liked me. Show you how much she liked me. Every day, she would send me to the corner store and I would go buy her lunch. And she ate the same thing, Monday through Friday. I would go and get her a can of sliced peaches and cottage cheese. She'd give me $1, and in exchange, she'd give me $0.25. So I knew Mrs. Owens really, really liked me. And so things were going along swimmingly. And at the end of the year, they had a citywide pageant at Kezar Stadium in San Francisco where the 49ers used to play. And they called it the Crossing Guards Jamboree. And so we would go there and march and do our drills, and I was going to be the flag bearer. And my mom was so proud. And so I never had any trouble with the kids because if they jaywalked or didn't respond to my instructions or commands, I would always tell them, I'm going to tell Mrs. Owens on you. And she was a formidable figure, large white lady with white bluish hair and big round owl glasses. And if you did anything she didn't like, she would march out on the courtyard or into a classroom and grab your ear and twist it and pull you to her office. No one wanted to be reported to Mrs. Owens. One day, as I was doing my duty, I had a group of kids waiting for traffic to go by. And this one kid, one of the few white kids in the school, by the name of Eddie Zeno, he was a tough little kid. He could fight, and he was the school bully. He jaywalked, and I yelled at him, "Hey, you, get back on that corner." He did a pivot. He turned around and said, "Who are you talking to?" I said, "I'm talking to you. Get back on that corner." He looked at me. He said, "Who are you?" I said, "I am the captain of the crossing guards." He looked at me and said, "You look like a smokestack to me," and called me the N-word. It was like I had been hit in the pit of my stomach. My first reaction was to break from that corner and just make him eat those words. I wanted to pound him in his face. And I could hear the kids on the corner say, "Ooh, ooh, oh, you going for that? Oh." But then I realized I'm the captain of the crossing guards. I'm in uniform. I can't fight Eddie. And besides, Eddie was a tough kid. Really didn't want to fight him. And so I yelled at him. I said, "You're in trouble now." I said, "I am going to report you to Mrs. Owens. You're in trouble." And he sneered at me and gave me the finger. Another punch in the gut. And he walked off. And the kid, "You gonna let him get away with that?" "Mrs. Owens will take care of it." And I let them go across. It was a long, hard walk back up to the school. And I just was beside myself. I'd never been called the N-word in my entire life. It just rocked my world. And then to be described as a smokestack. And so I went into Mrs. Owens' office and I told her what had happened. And she said, "He said that?" I said, "Yeah, and he called me the N-word." And I was crying. And she says, "Don't worry, Ben." I said, "Well, we're going to write him up?" Because there was a little form that we would fill out. It was called a traffic violation. I said, "Let's write him up." She says, "Ben, just take it easy. I'll handle this." And when she told me that, I knew she wasn't going to handle it. And she could see that I was deflated. And I said, but, she says, "I told you I'll handle this." And as I walked slowly to the door, she said, "Ben?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "You need to get a thicker set of skin. You need to have thicker skin, Ben." And I looked at her and I walked out the door. And I knew that I had to take the flag down. And I went to the flagpole and I lowered it. And we had this thing about never let the flag touch the ground. And that was the way you would fold it up. I let the flag down and I let it touch the ground. I let it drag the ground. And I folded it up all uneven. And I sat on the steps and I thought what I was going to do. And then I decided, I'm quitting. I took off my belt, I took off my hat, and I took off my badge. And I walked up to the principal's office and I laid the flag, my belt and hat and badge on the secretary's desk. She said, "What is this?" "Tell Mrs. Owens I quit." And I went home and I told my mom about it, and she was so disappointed. And my father asked me about it, and I said, Daddy, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to be a paper boy. I had a friend who sold papers, and my dad loved it. Oh, yeah, boy, you need to go out and make some money. Go on and sell them papers. You wasn't getting paid anyway. My mother saying, well, wait, what happened? Hey, we were supposed to go to the jamboree and everything. I said, it weren't for me. No, I want to sell papers and make some money. Fast forward 2 years. I'm in the 8th grade. I'm selling newspapers. Now, Eddie Zeno came to the same middle school. I ended up keeping a wide berth from him. We kept our distance. He always gave me a smirk, but we never said anything to each other. And so, one day, a new kid comes to school, Jason Lewis. He was a tough kid, black boy. And they were the two toughest guys on the school ground. And so Eddie Zeno called Jason Lewis the N-word. And Jason said, we're going to have it out at the end of the school day. And they met and they fought. And Jason Lewis was getting the best of him. He got on top of him. He got him in a headlock. And then he sat on top of him and started pulling his ears. And all of a sudden, Eddie Zeno reached in his pocket, pulled out a penknife, and stabbed Jason Lewis 3 times in the stomach. Boom, boom. And all the kids fell back. Oh, woo! And Eddie rolled Jason Lewis over, and his whole front of his shirt was bloody. And there was pandemonium. Everyone's running everywhere. School ground was deserted, and the custodian was the only one that was around, Mr. Cathagra. He came out, found out what was happening. He pulled some rags out of the back of his shirt pocket and started compressing him and yelled at us and told him to go get the principal and told the rest of the kids to go home. And I walked home in absolute shock. Didn't know if Jason was alive or well. But as I was walking home, I thought about 2 years ago when I was about to get into it with Eddie Zeno. And I thought, that could have been me. If I had made that move, it could have been me. But then I thought about Mrs. Owens and how she said, I would handle it. And you get a thicker skin. And I thought about that all evening, all through dinner. It bothered me so. And then a light bulb went off in my head. Bing! My middle school was right down the hill from my elementary school. Mrs. Owens was still the principal. And I decided that night that I was going to write a note to Mrs. Owens and let her know what happened. And that night I sat down and I wrote this note. Dear Mrs. Owens, Eddie Zeno stabbed Jason Lewis in the stomach. They took him to the hospital. I hope he has thick skin then. The end.
Wow.
Wow.
What a story. Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Ben, did he live?
Story.
Ben, how did he turn out? Did he live?
Yeah, he did live. And Eddie Zeno went to juvie.
Yeah.
Good.
And I've got a question for you. So
it sounds like 2 years later you had a slightly different view of what Mrs. Owens had said, and now in your maturity, what do you think about what she said to you then as a grade school kid? What are your thoughts and feelings about it now?
Oh, I knew it instantly. It's the same as I feel today. She gave him a pass because he was a white kid. The victim was black, and she didn't put him in check. And I knew no one had put him in check. And, you know, this is why he was able to, you know, continue on and end up stabbing someone.
Did she respond to you?
Oh, no, she
Your letter?
did not respond to me. No, and I didn't expect her to.
Yeah.
But I felt like a burden had been lifted off of me.
Yeah.
And, you know, and with these times now and how we tolerate, and that's just why I wanted to bring this up. I never told my parents about it either.
Wow.
You know, Ben, I heard the first part of that story once in the past. It stopped. I think it ended with you quitting being crossing guard. So this is my first time to hear the whole thing, the second half, and it's just a wonderful story, and it's got such lessons in it, and it's told so beautifully and honestly. I just want to thank you for it.
Thank you, Ben.
Yes.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
really appropriate for our times.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was a
Ben,
good job.
I was very, at the first part of your story, I was a little bit envious because when I was in school, I remember the crossing guard traffic boys. They'd come in, they got off school early, you know, half an hour before school was over. They'd come strutting around the classroom with their, you know, stripe thing and their hat. I was curious because they wouldn't let girls do it.
No, that's
Yeah,
right.
that was the thing. We were traffic boys. There were no girls. It was
No
amazing.
girls. Yes. I never forgave them for that. I wanted to be a traffic girl, you know. I do that, and they didn't let us. But your story is wonderful, and it has a lot of meaning. And thank you for sharing that. That's a great story, Ben.
Ben, have you told that story before?
No, I told one version of it, but I didn't tell the tail end of it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, when you tell a story straight from the heart, there's no better storyteller than I've heard.
Thank you.
I agree. I agree.
That was
Great ending, Ben.
that was
The ending is lovely.
That was wonderful. And you know, I think from Jeannie's class years ago, my very first crush, was on the captain of the safety patrol, we called him. And you're right, the safety patrol, man, if you were captain, you got all kinds of perks.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't expect the ending of yours. And it is just a wonderful, wonderful story.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was also on the safety patrol. The belt.
Yeah, the white belt stripe.
But there was also a badge.
Yep.
Yes, the badge went on the stripe.
Badge was the biggest part of it.
And then what about the little orange cap? Cap as well.
And I just want to say that I think your story it resonates with I think everyone, regardless of your race or your history. That I felt such empathy and heartbreak for you because you were really telling it with the passion and the love of a little kid, you know, because when you were a kid and the feelings you felt were so honest and so raw, and it really, really came through, like just beautifully told.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And
Brilliant.
definitely.
Go ahead, Jeannie.
Yeah. And then to have that ending, it's such a mature ending that just punches a shot and leaves the rest of us. There was no moralizing. There was in the meaning of this is, I mean, you let us have it. And boy, did we get it. Thank you so much. You are a brilliant storyteller, man.
Ben?
I was very fortunate because I had a really good English teacher in the 8th grade. And she had us write our diaries, you know, write our reflections. And she said, I want you guys to really be ready for that freshman English class. at this high school that we were going to. It's kind of like college prep. So I felt very confident. And she said, keep your stuff short and sweet. And she uses the word succinct. I had never heard it before. And I said, oh, I'm going to be succinct. I thank Mrs. Clark for that. If I hadn't had her, I would not have been able to express myself.
Oh, I
Well, it's
doubt
funny,
that.
Ben.
I wouldn't have composed that letter.
All right.
I referred to it as a note, not a letter.
It's funny, Ben, because I think now that you're telling stories in schools and have the opportunity to pass on that wisdom and that confidence to kids in schools, it's a really beautiful circle that you remain passionate and remember those who mentored you, because I think you're doing just a beautiful job of passing that on, that legacy on.
Thank you. Well, I want to comment on Stephen's story. I had a similar story, Stephen. Some of you may have heard it, in terms of, getting out while you can, kid.
Yeah.
I was an auditor for the Franchise Tax Board.
Wow.
And, I had a bright future and everything. And I did an audit for this black guy that had this soul food restaurant on Fillmore Street in San Francisco. And we jacked his taxes up. And at the end of the audit, I asked him, I said, you have any questions? He said, yeah, you look like a decent kid. Why don't you get yourself a damn decent job?
That's great.
So, we had that similar, and I was in education also.
Ben, I was thinking the story was so powerful. And now you've rehearsed it. Maybe this is the one to tell on Monday.
On Monday?
I might tell that one, but I got another one called Spare the Air. You guys probably heard Spare the Air, right?
But this one's more powerful, Ben.
Okay, I'll tell you what, when we get offline, let's talk, okay?
Okay.
All right.
It's familiar, but I'm not sure.
But Ben, you also had another kind of, when you were in high school and you were told that you couldn't be a basketball player, you needed to run.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was another one of these things where the running, it was a wonderful story.
Real interesting through line with my life.
That's right.
My experience with white folks. At first, I was thinking, man, these white folks, boy, they're not cool. But then my basketball coach flipped the script. And he could have cut me from the basketball team just like that. But he said, hey, you got talent elsewhere. And that changed my life. And I thought, hey, all white folks aren't bad.
Thank you.
He actually redirected me into something, and he saw something in me. So it was really, really nice seeing that coming full circle.
What does the rest of that shirt say?
Trouble.
Yeah, good
Oh.
one. Good
Yeah,
trouble.
Oh,
okay. Yeah. All right. That's nice. Good trouble.
In the spirit of John Lewis.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I'm going to say in the spirit of Jill Biden, if she had been your principal, you know what would have happened to that young man.
Oh, yeah.
The door and knocked him and socked him in the face.
Oh, yeah. She would have stopped it in his tracks. Boom. That's for sure. That's why we have to really put
Joe
people
Biden.
in check. Put them in check.
So, can I ask a question? What's going on Monday that you guys were mentioning? Is there another storytelling opportunity?
The Marsh on Monday.
Oh, sure. Okay.
They have performances every day. And on Monday, it's called Monday Night at the Marsh.
That's right. Okay.
So it just, Ben and Jerry and I are telling. And
yay.
On Tuesday, Tell It on Tuesday.
Yes.
Right after, Levon is going to be on Tell It on Tuesday telling.
My goodness. Okay. Thank you for reminding me.
Oh, thanks, Eleanor. Thanks for coming, you guys. Maybe it'll be the same crowd.
I'll be there.
I'll see you on Monday night. I've got another call. Take care, everybody. Thanks for
Okay.
Bye, Bill.
Take
Bye.
care.
So,
Bye.
Ann,
Bye.
we just have a few more minutes, and I want to announce that we have a seniors reaching out program where we are invited to tell stories for Covia. And if anyone is interested, please let me know. And also our next storytelling, lunchtime storytelling, is on September the 17th. Lois Kinsey and Lavon will be telling. And we have an opening for a third person. If you're interested, please email me. And I just wanted to put it out there that for September the 17th, we have an opening. So yeah, and for the tell us today, Claire, Ben, we already know you're going to be at Monday at the Marsh, but Stephen and Claire, do you have anything coming up that you want to let us know about?
No, I don't, but you mentioned Biden political, but I just want to tell you that I have met Joe Biden in person. And he's everything they say. I was at this fundraiser and he leaned over and kissed me on the cheek. You know what I did?
Yeah, got him in trouble.
This really is, he's a very, very, when you meet this man in person, he's a really good human being. I can tell.
Fantastic. Is Stephen gone?
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm just distracted with some
Hello,
other things.
Sally.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Sally.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. It was great.
And I have a
What a
question.
great noontime.
And brother, talk some more. Ben?
Ben,
Yeah.
I
Ben?
have a question for you. Do you know who Ruth Dewson was?
Ruth Dearson?
Dewson, the hat lady from San Francisco?
Oh, I know who she was.
I know her.
Yeah, what about her?
The hat on Fillmore Street.
Ruth and I were great friends.
Really?
And I used to model hats for her. We worked on a show called Crowns together. And I used to drive her around. And one night, about midnight, we stopped in a little bodega, and I don't know, it was Western Addition. And I was like the only white person around. She wanted to go get a can of peaches and some cottage cheese. And I was sitting there, you know, privileged little white, you know what, in my BMW, and I was the only white person around. This was 100 years ago. And she went into the bodega, and I was sitting in the car by myself. And I got a little thinking, I don't want to be out here alone. I don't know the city. I don't know anybody. I'm white. So I went into the bodega, and I try and find her, and she's looking around, and she gets this wicked smile on her face. And she says to the person behind the counter, "Who the hell's this white lady following me around?"
Oh, no.
And I looked at her and I said, "Mom." And
I knew Ruth Dewson because I lived in that neighborhood about 2 blocks from there. And I used to, she was really quite a neighborhood character. They don't make it like that anymore. She was great.
She was. And Ben, just, I don't want to in any way minimalize the importance of your story, but as soon as you said peaches and cottage cheese, I thought of Ruth. You know, it's funny how a neighborhood can bring such emotion, such feelings, and your story really showed that.
Yep. You know, Willie Brown bought all his hats from
Yes, he did.
That's
So
right.
did Delroy Lindo, so did, I mean, you name it. Anybody was anybody. And I still have a hat that she gave me that is this beautiful, huge confection. It is unbelievable. Yeah.
Hey, Stephen still with us? Stephen?
Yeah, I am.
You teach special ed, right?
I did. I retired about 10 years ago.
But you still.
But actually, I just took a long-term sub job.
Yeah.
They needed
So I
somebody
was wondering,
experienced.
do you tell stories to your students?
Oh, I have in the past. Not a lot. Not a lot. But I had mostly worked with older
Oh, the adults.
Older kids. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, well, no, teenagers, high school. Yeah.
And that'd
A lot
be
of
a
notes.
real good career choice story to tell those kids.
Oh, yeah. 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 No, that's true. It's true. I tell stories here and there, yes. But
So
I haven't done it in a long time.
Yeah.
You know, I just wanted to say, just to let everybody know, there are some incredible instructors who are going to be teaching in the fall. Because of Zoom, we were able to get Donna Washington. Woohoo! Lily, that was big find. And MK, she left, but she's a new person. And what's the other person's name in storytelling?
Masanko Banda, he taught with us one summer and did a little intro to storytelling with drumming. This class will be an intro to storytelling class, and he's all the way in Malawi, so it's he's working with us.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
So it's I'm excited.
Nice time zone issue.
Yeah.
How would we get information about that?
You can go on our website at sagebridge.org.
Okay.
And you should sign up for our mailing list so that you receive.
Sign up for what?
Our mailing list.
Mailing list.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
You can get later on, you can get the whole registration. What day is that, Lily? What day does that come out?
Yeah, so the program is going to be released the end of this month.
You're talking about the Well Connected program?
No, this is how to sign up.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a little confused. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, people, I just want to say a huge shout out to Stephen, Claire, and Ben. Thank you so much. And audience, you are amazing. Thank you for being here. And yeah, just really wonderful stories. I hope you all come back September 17th. And remember, if you have a story and are interested in telling, please let me know. And on that note, I'm going to say thank you and goodbye till next time. Everybody be safe and see you next time.
Hey,
Bye.
thanks for hosting.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, brother.